So you have an interesting assignment right here.
Yeah, just a traffic collision and you know, someone obviously accelerated versus brake. So.
Well, I noticed she was elderly, and I noticed the other officer kind of trying to explain things to her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know any of the circumstances. I'm just doing the traffic control, but I know that there was an injury and the vehicle popped up onto the sidewalk and hit a bench. So, but everyone's conscious breathing. It seems to be okay.
Great. We appreciate your service.
Thank you.
This is Susan Bassi, and this is the first opportunity I've had to put up a new video since the global pandemic has taken a foothold in all of our lives. And like many of you, I've listened to the mainstream media about how the elderly are dying from this virus and are at great risk, how our schools are closed, how our hospitals are strained and our airports are packed. And then I decided to grab my recorder and to go out and see what the virus really looks like in all of our communities. And my first stop on day 2 of the global pandemic was Capitola, California, where this elderly woman drove her car into the seawall, just a few feet away from where some children were playing and some dogs were walking with their owners.
That I'm a reporter for mainstream media, and I also have a YouTube channel with the First Amendment auditors. And we're going to do a little reverse First Amendment auditing. We're going to start showing what the police officers do. They're important and nice in our communities.
Awesome.
Okay, so I'll send you a link.
And it was just a day earlier, on my way to the grocery store in Los Gatos, when I came across this accident. And I thought to myself about all the good police officers, nurses, doctors, firefighters, lawyers, auto mechanics and food service workers, and farmers that I've known throughout my lifetime. And then I realized that we are all going to be home for a while and life is going to look different. And there is this opportunity that we have where we can all work together to provide transparency in all of our local communities.
I definitely felt unsafe. If the government's telling me to stay in groups of less than 50 and keep social distancing, that was the opposite. This process was the exact opposite of that. So I felt unsafe and more at risk of getting the coronavirus. It was confusing because the whole process is to get rid of the idea of spreading coronavirus, but there was hundreds and hundreds of people in very close proximity, so it didn't make a ton of sense to me.
And I've been fortunate in my lifetime to have some terrific mentors. They've taught me to trust but to verify, to always ask questions, and to always listen and answer the phone when somebody calls to tell you a story.
We're trying to only do about 8 meals per 15 minutes, or rather 8 pickups per 15 minutes, so that way we can practice social distancing. As you can see, all of our team here is trying to keep a certain amount of space from each other. We're working with face masks and gloves to make sure that we're really trying our best to kind of follow all of the best practices and protocols.
And some people I know have no idea what that means. They don't even have a Facebook account. So I decided to set out and show them just what this pandemic actually looks like. And this is a medical marijuana store in between Santa Cruz and Capitola, where the county required them to put tape on the ground, forcing people to engage in social distancing while waiting in line and conducting business outside the store. And a day earlier, I had been in the Whole Foods in Los Gatos, California. The shelves were empty, and they looked like something out of an old bread run in Russia. The meat counters were empty as well, and mainstream media was reporting that there were food shortages in Los Gatos and the San Jose area.
This is Stephen James reporting on the great pandemic of 2020. It's Wednesday, March 18th. here in Capitola, California. This is how we're spending and other people are spending the pandemic.
Yep, 57. Doesn't matter, they're letting us in it. The famous scale ticketer is outside now.
Okay, thank you. You guys can go ahead and.
Thank you.
But only one person gets to sit out there at a time.
$57 right here. Hi, love. Hello. Say hi. I'm going to put you guys up on how we're getting through Gales with the virus. Getting through Gales! Yay!
So this is what some of our favorite restaurants look like when we're social distancing. I'm going to put on the right side what this restaurant looked like just a few months earlier, because it was one of my favorite stops on my way to the beach to exercise my dog. It was also the location where I regularly would meet with Kathy Cohen and Sue B., who are some of my Facebook friends. And now only one person was sitting out on the patio. And across the street from Gales is a produce stand called Capitola Produce, and we decided to go there and find out if they had the food shortages that were being reported on mainstream media and that we had seen when we were in the Los Gatos and San Jose area.
Okay.
My name's Susan Bassi, and so today I went out to go film the difference between what mainstream media is reporting about food and what we're seeing. We went into
we
Gales.
have food. We get shipments in. We do get hit pretty hard, and at the end of the day, a lot of things are missing. But we
Looks
stock
pretty
it
good
up.
right now.
So yeah, we're doing okay.
Good. So I'm going to put this up. So there's a lot of people I interviewed down at the beach, and we'll send them in if everyone's thinking they're not going to be able to get food. Is a lot of your stuff locally grown?
Some of it is. Different times of the year, we'll have a lot locally. Other times of the year, we get it from Chile and all over the world.
Okay, thank you.
And it wasn't just produce. I picked up a loaf of lemon bread from Greenlee's, and I found that they had some of my favorite jams and chocolates and other things that you might want to get during the middle of a pandemic if you're going to have to be home for a long time. And I thought I'd show this to all the people who I've offered to help shop for, and they can let me know exactly what they want me to pick up. And with a nod to Michael Bonfante, I headed over to Nob Hill to see how they were doing and how that compared to with what was being reported on mainstream media.
Closed at the bulk, and they also closed the bar, and they closed.
I just had people contact me this morning. They're always asking me, what do you think about? And I do think that if food workers are handling food, that's a point. And these bulk containers, that's a big deal, you know, if people are getting into that.
It's because they're afraid if somebody puts their hands in there, that
Of course.
they're going to put it in their mouth. Yeah. And the same thing with the food.
So the health department closed that down.
Yeah, that and the bar. I couldn't tell you the reasons. You'd have to ask the manager.
What bar?
We have a bar over there by the bakery.
Okay, for coffee?
No, alcohol.
Oh, you have an
Our
alcohol
coffee
bar.
bars open, but our alcohol is open.
So they closed the alcohol bar. Probably
Yeah.
because of the state ordinance about closing all bars?
Yeah. Well, I didn't think of that, yeah. There's been so much going on Monday.
And since I had the assistance of a nice manager showing me around the store, I thought I'd ask what you all would want me to ask about the toilet paper.
So the toilet paper is empty. Where is that aisle? The toilet paper's gone. When was it last stocked? I mean, did it run out the same day? Did it? Yeah.
This was where the Kleenex was.
So this is Kleenex.
Yeah, it was stocked this morning.
It was stocked
It
this
was
morning.
either this morning or last
and it's
night.
out.
People came at 6 in the morning.
Okay, so I have a question for you because it's a question everybody's asking. Why are people buying toilet paper?
Because as of 2 weeks ago, excuse me, if you are put in your home because you're sick, if you're quarantined, they want you to have enough toilet paper and enough food for 2 weeks. That's what I read online. I only read it on one site. And there's also
So people are buying more than 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, and there's also the possibility of diarrhea if you're really sick. So people are, and you don't even use that much toilet paper if you're sick.
No, not this kind of cold.
So there you have it. I even asked about the toilet paper.
You're cleaning your hands in between each cup.
So I guess you could say we audited hand washing and toilet paper that day. But mostly I want to thank everybody who gave me a tour and showed me what was really going on and how that differed from what we were being told, because everyone was kind and everybody was willing to help. And this is what social distancing looked like on the beach. Everybody sitting a few feet away from each other and mostly on their phones, doing FaceTime calls with family and friends. And this man was talking about this medical crisis with somebody who worked for Santa Clara County. And just when I thought I was ready to film good police officers, I noticed something out of the corner of my eye. I noticed the police officer I'd been speaking with earlier headed with his ticket book, and he was headed after someone who was helping watch after my dog. Someone who was taking my dog to an area of the beach where I've been told they're allowed to go off leash.
Now what you doing?
Just patrol, making sure we don't have too many people congregating, too many people close together.
Now, just when I thought First Amendment auditing could go back to looking for good police officers in our communities, especially during the pandemic, this officer came back on my radar. He definitely had his ticket book in his hand, and he was headed after my associate who was watching my dog. And so now I'm going to need to do some records requests.
Is that what you're doing? You're checking if people are breaking up?
That's the county order, so...
So
yeah.
are you issuing tickets for misdemeanors if somebody's...
No.
So you're admonishing them and giving them a warning?
Right now, I mean, I think the whole idea is willful compliance. You know, if we can get people to move along, and they do, I haven't seen any, we haven't seen any breaches of too many people just together, at least not right here. But, in other areas, yes.
Is there something that would draw your attention, make you, if somebody wasn't listening or they kept coming back? And
Well, if we get calls of service, we're responding to all the calls, and, if people are complaining about the congregation of too many people, we will respond to that. And mainly it's just checking in with businesses that still might be serving or having sit down, this type of thing, if they may or may not be aware of the particulars in the order.
Okay.
So, okay.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it. Officer, I didn't get your name. I got your partner's name, but
Sorry?
I didn't get your
it's
name.
Officer Chad Keene. Watch out, just behind you.
Sure.
Keep going.
Officer Chad Keene?
Yeah,
And what's your badge number?
483.
Thank you. And Capitola Police. Thank you, sir, for your service today.
He's going to put it in your driveway.
Yeah. No, we're not taking your car. You just can't drive this thing out of here.
You just can't drive home.
And I also can't drive at all once you do that.
Is that
Correct.
Until I fall,
Right.
die, or something.
Absolutely. Yes. Correct. Okay.
And that might be the reason that a lot of handicapped traffic backwards.
I think it's a good idea. We'll let this man do his work, and he'll give you a ride back home as well.
Okay.
So do I go with your friend?
Yes.
And I couldn't help but notice that this man wasn't engaged in social distancing because he was helping this woman. And he was kind and he was patient with her. He helped her with her walker and he helped explain what was going to happen with her car. And so I snapped a picture of his truck and I got his number, which is on the side. His name is Jason. And his boss should know what a good job he did that day. Because in the middle of the pandemic, we all need to be reminded to be kind to one another, and we'll get through.
Sir? Sir? Hi. I'm a reporter, and I'm going to try to get this up some places today. Do you mind just giving me your name?
Jason?
Jason?
Yeah.
And the company you work for is Rossi's Towing?
Right.
I just want to let you know you did a nice job with that lady, and I'm sure this was one of your more interesting calls.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you for your service.
Okay, you're welcome.
And after the accident cleared and everybody had driven away, I met some other people from Santa Clara County who were just as concerned about taxpayer waste, and they were interested in my public records.
Okay. So I just want to get a small snip with you. I covered that annual supervisors meeting, and I got the invoices for the Scott's Seafood Catering, and I'd be happy to email those to you if you ask for them.
Yes.
But can you tell me what that event looked like? Because I didn't get film of it.
Yes, there was these elaborate flower arrangements that were very nice there, and there were many vendors that were there with food, that after the meeting you could go into the different vendors and get food and drink.
So do you think that was an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars?
No. Maybe a slice of cake and a water bottle would have been fine, but I did not go there for that. I went there to hear the supervisors speak. And I actually emailed Cindy Chavez a few days later and said I went to the annual meeting, and I did not hear anything about crime. You just brought up about the women's suffrage, right to vote. The rape kits are now being processed much quicker than they were before. A few other things, but the number one thing that I think is wrong with the county is crime, the increase in crime rate. And so I emailed, and so they emailed back, and one of her associates, and we set up a phone conversation, and it was 10 minutes long. To their credit, they did call me and wanted to know my thoughts on it, and I explained to them I thought that was the number one issue, and thought they needed to hire more police to be on the streets.
So I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to do a public records request, and we're going to see if Cindy Chavez coughs up those emails that you say you sent.
Okay, great.
Okay?
And of course I had public records to show that the supervisors in Santa Clara County spent over $3,600 on a seafood buffet from Scott's restaurant that's probably been closed at this point. And it was good to know that while we were watchdogging things as First Amendment auditors, journalists that I know were watchdogging the district attorney's office in Santa Clara while I was out of town.
Oh, my plan is to stick it out as long as I can, because me and other journalists like myself who are still hanging on with Bay Area News Group are doing it because, we don't want to see these communities, the communities we cover, go uncovered, unserved, because they rely on us for, keeping up with what's going on around the community. They rely on us to have information that they can base important life decisions on. And so for those of us who are still here, it's because we are still, kind of adhering to that calling of, serving our community, and not wanting to leave, especially a city like San Jose, without journalism, without a key source of journalism, given all of the, changes that it's going through.
And I'm glad Robert Solana stuck it out, because while I was out of town, he was covering the district attorney's office that hired 2 of the prosecutors from San Francisco that had wrongly convicted a man and cost the city taxpayers $13 million.
Hi, this is Jason.
Jason, this is Susan Bassi, and I'm on a recorded line, and you don't have to speak if you don't want, but I want to give you an opportunity to respond to this before I run this.
And sadly, not all Jasons are as kind and noble as Jason the tow truck driver in Capitola. And our team is right back to work, pandemic or not, investigating the courts, the district attorney's office, and what's going on in family court. And believe it or not, that day I actually got some new sources.
When I referred 2 clients to you, I was unaware of one client that you had represented since 2012 when Elena Berg's case started. And that client involves Jason Lugrassi.
So in the spirit of all my First Amendment auditing community, that's homebound for a few weeks, I'm going to ask you all to go over to the San Joaquin Valley Transparency's new channel and help David out. We need to get his subscribers and his videos up to where they were before, because this channel couldn't do what we do without David's help, and he truly is one of my favorite mentors. And then I'm going to ask you to go over to this channel, My Character Reference and Life as an Immigrant. She only has 2 subscribers right now, and she thought she was all alone. And we're about to show her what the First Amendment auditing community can do with her graphic design skills. And so, harnessing a little bit of my mom advice, I'm going to tell you all to take some Zicam and to buy your food from somewhere where you can heat it up and kill all the germs. Be sure you wash your hands and get ready to help us with subscribing, commenting, writing public records, and helping us complain. And if you can make some phone calls, we'd love that as well.
Okay, and that's it for now.